Hello, I'm Richard Gisbert, and you're at The Listening Post. This week, the singing sensation turned worldwide phenomenon on the web.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
But what was the world really watching? A new president in waiting for South Africa. Jacob Zuma and his love-hate relationship with the media. The Italian cartoonist who lost his job for finding humor in the earthquake story. And Peddler on the Roof, our web video of the week. Look up the term overnight sensation in the dictionary and you could well end up seeing a picture of Susan Boyle. Boyle, in case you've just returned from Mars, is the middle-aged Scottish woman, a singer, whose audition on a British talent show rocketed her to a place that no YouTube phenomenon has gone before. Over 100 million hits on the site and counting in just 1 week. Thousands of people say they have drawn inspiration from and shed tears over the singer's little piece of television history. But was Susan Boyle's rise to fame really a spontaneous multimedia event, or was there something more contrived to this feel-good story to end all feel-good stories? That's our starting point this week: the singer, the talent show, and a web sensation.
When Susan Boyle walked onto that stage, everybody thought, here we have a car crash.
What's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Everything is geared up to make people think this woman's going to be very bad.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47.
What's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And of course, everybody was laughing, this gawky-looking type of person.
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables.
And right up until the point that she opens her mouth, you're completely convinced that this woman's going to bomb.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
And of course, she blew everybody away.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die.
It was one woman on one television show broadcast in just one country. At least, that's how it started.
In a matter of days, Susan Boyle has become the biggest story in the world.
Everybody has been talking about it. I couldn't go anywhere yesterday. People weren't talking about Susan Boyle.
2.5 million people have watched that clip so far. How do you feel?
Gobsmacked.
Since then, this video has been watched 5.5 million times online.
Susan Boyle's performance has been viewed more than 12 million times online.
I dreamed that love would never die.
And on the number climbed. 50 million, 80 million, then past 100 million.
That then gets put on YouTube, the whole world can see it. Hollywood celebrities can view that, and they can communicate their thoughts about it instantly via Twitter. And so all of that sort of snowballs into sort of a self-fulfilling sort of prophecy of success. And that just keeps on going and going and going.
Did you see that Scottish woman singing on Britain's Got Talent? Did you know? Isn't that amazing?
Everybody's talking about it because there is a story there. And of course, they have the internet and YouTube, so they can drill down and see what everybody's talking about. And it amazes people because the entertainment industry has driven this cliched, glamorous idea of what a performer should look like.
It's the underdog fantasy, and more importantly, it's the middle-aged female empowerment fantasy come to life. It plays into that need to believe that even if you are middle-aged and you might be plain, dowdy, that there is still that chance of being a star, of being a stunning success.
But all those television viewers and Susan Boyle's YouTube brigade, what was it that they were watching, really?
Anybody with any basic sense of skepticism and any knowledge of how television works is fully aware that the clip as it exists is very slick. It looks a bit staged.
I'm going to sing for you on Britain's Got Talent today.
All of these contestants go through a process before they hit the judges themselves. I think they knew very early on that they had somebody who was potential gold dust, somebody who they could emotionally manipulate the viewer to feel a particularly strong connection to. Somebody who was not only amazing, but who looked like they were going to be appalling and sort of touched every single base in the programme's appeal.
And what are the odds that one of the judges, Simon Cowell, whose company owns 50% of the show's format, had not heard Boyle sing before? That he was as surprised as his eyebrows led the audience to believe. We asked the production company behind the show about that. None of the judges, we were told, know anything about any of the acts, nor have they seen their performances before they appear on stage.
I think we can only speculate. I don't think anybody involved with the show, someone like Simon Cowell and the other judges, are going to step up and say, yes, we knew about Susan Boyle beforehand, we knew all of this was going to happen, it was all staged. Nobody's going to admit that.
I personally don't think it's been cynically engineered. I think it is what it is, and we now live in the 21st century where brands have to be transparent and honest. And that's what she is. She is what she is, and people relate to that.
There are multiple postings of the Boyle video on YouTube. 5 million hits here, another 12 million there. They all add up. The most popular version, with 40 million hits, has attracted more than 200,000 comments, the vast majority of them positive, many talking about Boyle's appearance.
I am so thrilled because I know that everybody was against you.
The entertainment industry globally, particularly out of America, are forever producing glossier and glossier images of performers, either a man or a woman, playing with all their alluring sexual connotations. Out of nowhere has come something so ordinary that pulls the rug away from that marketing. We're instantly connected, that there's something doesn't have to have this glossy image to connect with people.
But there was some gloss there, just not on the stage. The show's director seemed addicted to shots of the female judge, Amanda Holden, who is a more conventional beauty than the singer is. There were twice as many cutaway shots of her than her male colleagues.
Amanda Holden is focused on quite a bit, as opposed to the other two male judges. I mean, obviously you've got a woman on stage and you've got a very sort of beautiful, very made-up woman sitting in the judge's chair, which is sort of in stark contrast to the woman you've got on stage.
We tend to want to see people who are beautiful on television. It's just that simple. And broadcasters know that. They do the research into what kind of characters work on television, into what kind of actors work on television. So there's a hypocrisy there, I think, that is revealed in the whole Susan Boyle phenomenon.
Even if critics could prove that there was manipulation on the part of the production company, that should in no way detract from Susan Boyle's personal triumph, from her media moment. This was no car crash, but it was no accident either. Here's how our Global Village voices see the media's role in Susan Boyle's rise to fame.
I think that Susan Boyle has been getting all this media attention around the world because she is such an unexpected talent. She has so much charisma and everything, but she's so unconventional, and when you look at her you would never think that she would be a great singer just because of the stereotypes that we've gotten used to in today's society. But she's such a humble and sweet woman, and I think it's about time she gets the success that she deserves, and I believe she deserves it because of that, as well as because she has a great voice, and we shouldn't judge no one should judge based on her appearance.
I think the reason why Susan Boyle is getting all this media attention is not just for her singing voice. She also gave herself that certain underdog status. She said that she was 47, she's unemployed, she's never been married, she even claimed she's never been kissed. And I think that society does love an underdog from time to time. Regarding whether or not she actually deserves all this attention, she does have the same level of talent as the people already up there within that circle, so why shouldn't she get all the media attention as well?
If you'd like to be one of our Global Village voices, there are a few ways you can go about it. You can email us at listeningpost@aljazeera.net, go on Facebook and look for the Listening Post page, or you can follow us on Twitter. The advantage of Facebook and Twitter is that once you hook up with us, we can keep you posted on what stories we're working on. Then you can get with the program and contribute to the broadcast. Time now for Listening Post News Bites. Indonesia's Supreme Court has overturned a $93 million libel ruling against Time magazine. Back in 1999, Time ran a cover story that alleged that the former president, Suharto, illegally amassed a $15 billion fortune during his 35 years in power. Suharto died last year, but the magazine has spent 10 years fighting the case through 3 different judicial levels since Suharto first sued. This latest ruling in the magazine's favor has been hailed as a victory for free speech in Indonesia. In a sign of how badly the recession has hit the American press, the U.S. Congress is now holding hearings into the state of the newspaper industry. Over the past few months, the Rocky Mountain News in Denver and the Seattle Post-Intelligencer have stopped publishing. The owners of the Boston Globe have threatened to do the same, while other papers are buying out employees in order to cut costs. Democratic Senator John Kerry co-chairs the Congressional Committee and says that nothing less than the future of American journalism is at stake and that, quote, an independent news media is vital to democracy, unquote. Threatened by the growth of the internet and changing reading habits and now by the economic crisis, newspapers across the U.S. have big problems. An Italian cartoonist has lost his job for a cartoon he drew that was deemed offensive to the victims of the recent earthquake there. Vauro Zanese was fired by RAI, a state-funded television channel. Zanese made a reference to the government's plan to help the economy by easing legal restrictions on home renovations and extensions. His cartoon featured a gravedigger standing over a line of earthquake coffins with the caption reading, "Increasing the cubic meters of the cemeteries." Many voices in the Italian media have been critical of the government's response to the earthquake, and one RAI News presenter in particular has been told to, quote, rebalance, unquote, his critical coverage. Opposition activists in Moldova made headlines recently for using Twitter to organize anti-government demonstrations. Now, one of those activists is under house arrest for her role in the protest. Natalia Morar is a 25-year-old blogger who, according to her lawyer, could be charged with inciting mass disorder. The protests were organized to contest election results that demonstrators say were rigged. Speaking to Radio Free Europe, Morar maintained that her role in the protests was nonviolent, but that she fears she could end up in jail for as long as 15 years. The government of Saudi Arabia has announced more restrictions on internet users there. According to a report by the Arabic Network for Human Rights Information, the Interior Minister has issued new instructions to internet cafe owners. They include installing secret cameras, requiring users to register their identities, stopping the use of prepaid internet cards, and making it illegal for under 18s to go online at cafes. The report's authors likened Saudi Arabian internet cafes to prison cells and said that the new restrictions were not in keeping with recent announcements that the country is striving for reform. We're back after the break with a report on the media and the South African elections.